Go.
Hi, I'm Kira and I'm a production assistant here at Roameo. I help to actually put these vans together, and today I'm going to be doing a walkthrough of all the different features of the van. So after I open this door up, the first thing to note inside our Roameo is we do have a pretty big step up when you go to enter the vehicle. It is about 21 inches, so you want to make sure that you're careful and you're not going to trip as you walk inside. Once we're inside the vehicle, we have the cabin up here. And the first thing to note is we do have shades that are equipped in this vehicle. You can take them down and store them overhead up here. And these just help to keep the van cool and help to keep it private inside. They are on all of the windows. Some of them are magnetic and others do use suction cups. So that'll also just help to keep the heat out. Moving on to the actual seats of the vehicle, both of these are captain's chairs, which means they do swivel 180 degrees around to the back. So in order to do that, we want to make sure that the seat is forward enough so it's not going to hit the OEM body of the vehicle as we go to swivel it around. We also want to make sure that it is in an upright position because otherwise we will also hit the walls of the vehicle. In order to actually turn the seat around, there is a handle to the bottom right on the driver's side, and it is on the left on the passenger side, and it should swivel around and you will hear it click into place, so it will not move around after it clicks. Something to note about this is that the vehicle will not drive away unless both of the seats are facing forward and locked in the position. So you just want to make sure to check that before you actually drive away. Again, up here we do have this overhead storage over the cabin of the vehicle. Also up here is our smoke detector and our carbon monoxide. Down here we do have what's called a Lagun table, and this is pretty straightforward. It comes out of the channel, so you want to make sure to lift it straight up and it should come out. There is a hole in the tabletop of the table that actually slots down into the wall support, so you want to slide that down. You can see it is in place, and then once that's there you can actually tighten the handle to keep it from lifting up. You can note about this table that it does have a lot of swivel. You can adjust it in many different ways. The other points of adjustment for it are underneath here. There is another handle, and then to adjust the height, there's also one at the base, so you can kind of use it how you may need. When we're actually ready to put this table away, it's the same thing. We want to turn the handle to the left and you'll feel it start to loosen, and then you can actually pull the tabletop up, and then we want to make sure that this support here is straight up and down, and we can kind of slide these channels back into here, and it should slide down to keep it locked in place as we're actually moving the van around. Up here we do have a swamp cooler AC unit. This is not a traditional AC unit, so it will not blow super cold. It only gets about 20 degrees colder than the temperature outside. But to actually operate this, we do have an on and off switch. So you hear it start to click on. And this is a 4-speed unit, so we do have the setting for that right here. Depending on how many times I click, it will just cycle through those 4 different settings. The other thing on here is we do have an overhead light right here on this unit. Turn that off. And then the last feature on this unit is this low water level gauge right there. A light will turn on if you are running out of water in the unit, and I'll get into how to fill that in a second. After that, we do have 2 different power outlets in the vehicle. One is near the sliding door, and the second is actually under that Lagun table. There are also 2 light switches in the vehicle right here. The one to the left operates the front lights, and it does have a dimmer, so you can kind of bring them up and down. And then there's also the same light switch for the back on the right hand side. Both of these light switches are on dimmers and do control 4 different sets of lights. Next, we do have a microwave right here, and then below that we do have our fridge unit. This whole unit is kept at about 45 degrees to keep your food and drink nice and cold. And this is the freezer part of it behind there. Moving on, we do have several fold-out tables in here. One is located to the left-hand side of the sink, and this is pretty useful, much like the Lagun table for those captain's chairs that do swivel around. In order to open this up, we pull up, and you'll hear it click into place. When we want to actually fold down the table, we press these levers underneath, and the whole thing slides down. And then it is pulled away ready to dry. We also have a wardrobe right here. These handles are on all of our cabinets throughout the vehicle. We want to press in, and the handle will pop out, and the latch is unlatched, and we can open the cabinet. In here, we have our curtain rod with several hangers, and then we also have a mirror inside of the vehicle. And then when we're done with this, we want to just make sure that we close the door and actually press this back so it latches back into place, so it's not swinging open when we are driving around on the road. Under here, under our sink unit, we have two handles that operate the same way. The first thing to note under here is we do have a fire extinguisher to the left, and then we do have a water filter, meaning that all of the water that comes out of the sink is filtered and ready to drink. If we look to the right, we do have our control panel. The first thing up here is the microwave outlet on/off switch. This should always be on, so you shouldn't ever have to worry about this one. The one to the right of that is the battery status. This will show you the percentage of the batteries in the vehicle, so you can kind of check where you're at if you're driving, or maybe if you're sitting for a few days. And then this does actually have a alarm that does go off when you hit 25%, so you'll hear some beeping to kind of indicate that you need to plug it in or run the vehicle. Right down here, we do have our AC fill on and off. This goes back to that swamp cooler overhead. So if we do see that low light indication, we do want to hit this on for about 20 seconds, no more than that, and we want to remember to turn it off. And then to the right of that, we have our heater control unit. And this, to turn it on, we want to click the button, and we can see it turn on. And then we have two different settings in here. We do have the heat, which is that symbol to the left, and then the fan, which is to the right. So we can kind of click, and right now I have it on the fan. You can see it says 30 minutes, so that's how long it will run. And we can click on if we want that to run, and you can hear that click on. We can turn it off as well by clicking the button. And then if we want to turn the heater on, we can dial this to the left to that heat symbol, click it on, set the temperature to however hot I want it to go, click on, and then same thing, we can sort of set it for how long we want it to run. So that is on, and then I'm just going to turn it off. And then below here, we do have our breaker. This is something that you want to check if you are losing power anywhere in either of the outlets or something like that. We want to check to make sure that the breaker is not actually broken. If it's broken, it will look like this. So all you have to do to fix it and put it back is press this back closed, and you'll hear everything click on and turn on again. This final panel on the control switch down here is our water level indication. The only things you need to worry about here are the gray water indication and then the fresh water. So the gray water is anything that comes from the sink or the shower of the vehicle. We can click this and see the status level with the light to the left, and then same thing with the fresh water. And then the final thing to note about this panel is this is the water pump switch as well. To the left on red does mean the pump is on, and you will have water pressure throughout the vehicle. And then if I turn this off, the water pump is now off. And then moving on, we want to close that back up and make sure everything's latched so things are not moving around. But we do have a shower in this vehicle as well, behind this door. The shower head is up here, and we do have the shower curtain that you can wrap around as you please. In order to work this unit, you want to turn this on. The switch to the right is on, and then you can adjust the temperature on the left, and if you're turning it up, it does get hotter, and if you're turning it down, it does get cold. So you can kind of adjust that accordingly. And then also over here, we have two more overhead cabinets. These are again the same latches that come up. You can put any sort of personal belongings in there. They do close and latch the same way. So again, we want to make sure those are closed. We also have a queen bed right here. And then attached to the bed, we do have another one of those same tables that folds up, and it does have those same latches that hold it back down. Looking to the left of the bed, we do have our toilet, and this comes up if you put your hands underneath here. The whole thing folds up and rests against the back. The toilet comes up through this lid, and we can check to see if this is cold or if this is open or closed. So right now it is closed. You can see as I switch this to the side to the right, it does actually open, so that means we're ready to use the toilet. And then after we've used the toilet, there is a flush to the right. You can see the water go through it, and then we want to remember to actually close this back up and then close the toilet lid and actually shut this back, being careful to not pinch our fingers. One thing to know is that if you are parked on uneven ground, everything might not operate as you actually think it would, because the body of the vehicle kind of flexes and doors won't necessarily open and close. So just don't be panicked if you are parked on uneven ground, and that does happen. Next, we can actually step outside of the vehicle. We do have a third fold out table here that does operate with this latch. So we want to undo that and then guide it down with our hands, being careful not to actually let it drop. And then we can have a drink or whatever we want to enjoy out here. When we're done, we can close this back up, being careful to actually lock this again because it will not do it on its own. And then that is put away. And we can close this up. Coming over here, we do have a shore power plug-in on the passenger side of the vehicle. This plugs in with a normal extension cord, so if you are at a campsite that has a plug-in, feel free to use that. Just remember to actually unplug when you go to drive away and close this back up really tight. To the right, we do have the cassette for our toilet, and we just want to press in with both thumbs on these buttons, and then the whole thing folds down. So when it's time to empty your toilet, you can come out here. The cassette of the toilet actually opens with this blue handle. We want to pull up and slide the whole unit out. Once we have it wherever we are going to dump it, we can actually rotate the nozzle whichever direction we want, and then unscrew and then pick it up and dump it. When we're done and we want to put it away, we do the opposite. We want to close this and then rotate it back to the position it came in, and then pick the whole unit up and slide it back in. You will hear it click into place, and it will not move around after it's clicked in. And then we want to close this back up, and you can also hear that latch. The final thing on this side under the vehicle is our gray tank empty. So we do have this, which is actually the door for it, and then we do have this hose that's actually used to empty the vehicle. This will be located in the back, probably above the wheel well box. And when we're ready to actually, in a spot where we're going to empty it, we can click this in, and then this hose is pretty maneuverable. It expands and it collapses, so we can rotate it wherever we're trying to go, which is pretty convenient. After that is in a spot where you are ready to empty it, we want to pull open this latch all the way to the right, and then it will start to empty the gray tank. After we're done and ready to put this all away, we want to push this back to the left, and then we can actually unscrew this, and then being careful to put the cap back on, and then we can collapse this hose back up and put it in the back of the vehicle. Then some of the other features we have are at the back of the van. So we do have this really nice drawer slide out. To open this, we want to pull up on both of these yellow latches, and the whole thing will start to slide out. And then you can see it does slide out pretty far. When we are ready to close it, we can just push on this, and when it gets stuck like that, we want to pull up on these yellow latches to unlock it and slide it back into place. And again, that does latch back in when it is all the way closed. The other two things we have back here are we do have our water fill. So we want to open up that cap. And each van will be equipped with a hose with a water filter on it. So when we're ready to use it, we want to unscrew this. This end right here goes to wherever we are filling up. And then this end with the filter actually goes on here like this. And then the handle for this turns counterclockwise to tighten it. So you can see it tightening. Something to note is that we don't want to over tighten it because it will be really hard to get this out. So you want to tighten it just enough. When we are done with when the tank is full, you will start to see it pour out under the vehicle. So you don't have to panic that you won't know when it is full. That's how you'll be aware. And then when we are done, we can turn this to the right and it will unscrew it. We want to make sure to actually put the cap back on, and then we want to make sure to connect these back on so that we're not getting water everywhere and water all over the stuff in the vehicle. The other thing we do have down here is we do have an outdoor shower if you want that option. The key, as you can see, it does have a latch. The key will be on the keys given to you with the Roameo. It should be the small silver one. So we can put that in there and unlock the shower. You can see the shower in here does have two valves. One is for hot, which is the bottom one, and then the second is for cold, which is the top one. So you can kind of see the on and off for these. And you can kind of start to see when I turn the top one to the right, you can hear it start to go on, and the bottom one goes to the left. So they are opposite, hot and cold. So once I have, let's turn the cold one on, we can go over to the shower head. If I was about to take a shower, this shower head does have an on and off switch. So if I push this little button to the left, the shower does turn on. And then if I do turn it to the right, the shower turns off. So we can kind of see how that works. After I am done showering, I want to make sure that I actually have turned these valves all the way closed, and then I want to test the shower head one more time to make sure it's not going to run out or leak inside the vehicle. When I am done with my shower, I want to fold this back up. Sometimes it can be hard to get back in, but it will fit. And then we want to close this back up and make sure to actually lock this because we don't want this door swinging open. And then if we come over to the driver's side of the vehicle, there are two final features to note. One is our gas is filled below this panel. So if we pull up on the bottom right-hand corner, that is where the gas is. It does just take normal unleaded fuel. And then also, before we do drive away with this Roameo, we want to make sure that our mirrors are fully adjusted. We don't have power adjusting mirrors, so we want to actually adjust these by hand prior to driving away. Thank you for coming with me through this walkthrough of the Roameo. I hope you have a fun time on your trip.